Everybody that survived yesterday's absolute meltdown, welcome back. We're going to be going over what in the world just happened. If you have not already realized, this is like you've witnessed history. I don't think I've ever seen anything this wild happen in one day in crypto. So we're going to break down a little bit of potentially why this could happen, and then also what's next, just so you can get a good sense of, potentially where we go from here. To be honest with you, I don't know that I have a really great sense, but we are going to go back to the charts that have continued to be right over and over again to at least get some general sense there. And then of course, we can kind of figure it out and add in our commentary from there. So let's go on ahead. We'll dive right on in. There's a lot to get through today. And so we are going to first off start by taking a look at the crypto bubbles, which if you can see, I'll actually remove my camera for a second. Actually, I don't have that on this computer, but you can see just absolutely wild move here. We're seeing anywhere between 20 to 30% down basically on every single thing in the market. We have some bigger ones, like Bitcoin is only down 7% in a single day. We have things like Solana down 18, BNB down about 10. I think Ethereum, I'm losing where Ethereum is in this, but ETH I think is down between about 15 and 20 as well. Really insane moves. But if you look, you'll see that's actually not even the crazy part, if you can believe it. The crazy part is this. You see that, and this happened to basically every crypto within the top 100. You can see it drops anywhere between like 50 to like 90% in the span of 5 minutes to 15 minutes, and then comes right back up. So all within about an hour, we'd seen a unbelievable swing going down about anywhere, like I said, between about 50 to 90%, and then coming back up anywhere between 2 to 5x, depending again on the coin. It's absolutely insane. Obviously, if you caught the dip, you did quite well for yourself, but many of us who were up on this end got crushed. And so hopefully I'm going to use this as a little bit of a PSA for leverage. If you were leverage trading, hopefully you were not doing cross margin leverage trading, because this very likely liquidated your entire portfolio if you were not trading with stop losses. So in my opinion, there are two key points to be made here. One, do not be trading without stop losses. Two, if you trade with cross margin leverage, you really should not be trading without stop losses, or just don't trade cross margin leverage at all. You can trade isolated leverage, which again just trades that own trade on its own merits. So again, hopefully many of you are still safe, and if you did take some losses, they were some good learning experiences, and hopefully not too expensive learning experiences, because that ultimately can happen in crypto. Of course, I did have several trades that, well, basically all of my trades were stopped out on this wild move, seeing these absolutely insane dips. But again, like I said, hopefully nobody's feeling too bad about what happened. Overall, this is a really rough type of situation, so feel free, take the weekend, touch some grass, go do kind of anything else but look at crypto charts, because as you can see, just an unreal move to the downside here on basically everything. So anyway, we'll go on, we'll take a look at Bitcoin specifically so we can see what happened. We were talking about in some of the recent videos that we had that it looked like we were falling into this descending wedge. That obviously did not happen. We fell right through that, coming all the way back down to this 107,000 range, this key level kind of support that we have seen hold up over the past several months. We did see that hold up. We're seeing wicking up right now, but there is always the possibility we do kind of continue to go further to that downside and maybe recapture some of the liquidity here. Maybe we even see a stop back to 108,000. It's hard to say for sure, but one thing that we will get to here a little bit later is that leverage is basically completely wiped out to the downside, as you can imagine with this type of move. So there is definitely a major pull to the upside, as that's where a lot of the short liquidity is going to be. But as you can see, this is an absolutely insane move. This is not something that we have seen at all inside the past year or so. Obviously we have seen some pretty aggressive moves to the downside, but really nothing like this and to the scale of this magnitude. It's really insane stuff. So we also could see, from a Bitcoin kind of structural perspective, it does look okay, because we really didn't break below this key level of support here. We only just barely wicked below it, again kind of capturing a lot of the longs that would have been in this kind of right up on this range. So again, if you were trading with high leverage, it's almost certain that you got liquidated. Anybody probably trading 5x leverage or lower is probably still unscathed here. I did have that long that was sitting at 109.5, so that one obviously got stop lossed out because I had already taken the profits, and so that one ended up just kind of breaking even on that specific one. But any of the other low leverage trades that I had opened actually did not get liquidated in this dip because I was trading low leverage, and that's kind of the reason why I do it. Is of course, you can always be greedy and push the leverage to 10x or 15x or even 20x and be somewhat safe, but it does not protect you from a move like this. So again, if you are kind of taking some learning lessons from leverage, trust me, I've learned this the hard way. This is just me learning from past mistakes and kind of losing money in my own special way. So again, hopefully, like I said, if you've survived the market crash, you're taking some really, really valuable lessons from this, even if you didn't, kind of have to suffer through some of the losses yourself. Obviously, congratulations, good for you, but just make sure that you don't let this really important learning opportunity go unscathed. So I want to take a quick look at Ethereum as well. We can see Ethereum actually looking a little bit worse off than Bitcoin, because Bitcoin did hold up at this key level of support here. ETH did actually not. It actually went through this kind of key level of support we were expecting at 3,800. It's actually holding below it right now, so a little bit of a potential concern here. Again, nothing too crazy, but I do think potentially we see a move back down to the 3,300 range. Maybe, if depending on how weird things get, maybe we even see somewhere between the 2,800 range. Again, we have seen a really, really insane move up from Ethereum. So even if we did hit back down to the 3,300 or even the 2,800 range, I don't think it's that big of a concern. But of course, obviously it does look very jarring coming down from, near all-time highs up at the $4,700-$4,800 range. So just, maybe exercise some caution here if you are getting into longs for whatever reason. Again, I have a couple, mainly just because they're super, super tiny positions. I'm not entering anything with any sort of size, but I did enter some longs, and will continue to enter more as we go down. But again, just keep in mind that, it is still the possibility that we potentially hit 2,800, maybe even lower. So if that does happen, just make sure that you're entering longs that are not going to get liquidated at that point. That's my own personal preference. Of course, you can do whatever you want. This is not financial advice. You need to be in control of your own money. So, and again, honestly, now it would probably be the most prudent time to not be using any leverage at all. But I will say, it's kind of a slight silver lining of what we have seen here. There's obviously a lot of people talking as if, this is the start of kind of the next 2021 style crash. This has broken the back of the crypto market, all of this type of stuff. Obviously, this was insane. We saw an unbelievable amount of liquidations. We'll get to that here in a second. But ultimately, I think if it would have broken the back of the crypto market, it obviously would have. Look at some of the price action that we saw. The fact that we have seen some rebounding, we have seen some stabilization. We haven't seen any market makers, roll trades back or go, anything like that. That does mean that, in my opinion, the market is still in a pretty okay situation. Obviously, many people in the market lost a fortune, and so that is going to hurt sentiment. It's going to hurt confidence. As you can see here, we do, very unsurprisingly, have moved into fear, and it would not at all surprise me if we see this move into extreme fear, maybe even tomorrow, right? And so that is something that I'm going to be keeping a very, very close eye on. This was obviously very unexpected from what we were seeing within the crypto market. But that's crypto for you, right? I mean, unconscionable, wild things happen all of the time, and so you have to be kind of prepared for everything. However, as I mentioned, the silver lining here is that Bitcoin's macro bullish structure, it does remain intact. You can see every time people kind of look at the weekly EMA 50, we did actually come right back down, and we wicked off of the weekly EMA 50, indicating that we do potentially still have further to run here, but you just of course need to be very, very careful and exercise caution here. So we'll have to see, like we see here, every time Bitcoin it touches this band, it bounces back sharply. So as long as it stays above this zone, the macro trend does remain intact. But we do need to kind of hopefully see some level of rebounding and some continued moves to the upside here. So we'll see how it goes. But again, I do think that this does show you, and hopefully it is a good reminder that things can literally change in an instant. And as we get later and later on into this bull market, the more inherent risk there is just existing in the crypto market. So just make sure that you are practicing your risk management accordingly. The frothier things get, the more up only things look, that is when you should really be kind of setting off alarm bells. I don't think we're really quite there yet, just because we haven't really seen any major level of kind of euphoria entering into the crypto market. But we'll have to see, right? Maybe this time is different. Everything always looks different. Nothing ever rhymes exactly, or copies exactly what happened in the past. It usually does rhyme, but I do think that this could have been kind of one of those last major washes, because we've seen this before in prior bull markets, right? We see these wild things happen, and the market kind of climbs up a wall of worry. So I think the longer that we see that happen, I do still think, kind of from a structural perspective, we are seeing that the bull market still is in place, but again, who knows how long that will last. In the next several weeks could indicate that, pretty heavily. So we will see. Moving along here, though, I want to take a look at the liquidations, because there's a couple of different things I want to show you. First off, you can see here 24-hour liquidations. You will not believe this. This is insane. I've never seen anything like it. The 24-hour wrecked amount of liquidity, 19 billion. This is almost, I think, probably 15 to 20x higher than I have ever seen this before. This is an absolutely unbelievable amount of leverage that has been liquidated from the system. This is going to hurt a lot of people. This is going to be a very, very damaging move to the downside that we see here. You can see almost 10 billion liquidated just between Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then you see here another 2 billion on Solana, almost $1 billion on Hyperliquid and XRP a piece, $500 million on Doge. I mean, just an unbelievable amount of leverage being liquidated here. So of course, I do think it is going to take some time for the crypto market to recover. I do think it is going to kind of really climb up a massive wall of worry here because of this unbelievably damaging move. You can see here open interest dropping 30% in a single day, volume going up about 200%. So just some really, really unbelievable moves happening. Now, if we do go take a look at the liquidation heat map, we can see a couple of different things. Very unsurprisingly, we will see that the liquidation kind of thresholds to hit are now going to be on the upside here. Obviously very, very clearly. We'll analyze these in a little bit more detail, but you can see here, almost 20 billion in shorts to the upside here. We can see an insane amount of shorts, actually 5 billion, even up at 115,000. So there is a major, major amount of liquidity to the immediate upside here. We also can see still a little bit of liquidity to the downside. We've seen a bunch of longs pile in. I think this is a lot of revenge traders expecting this to be the bottom. So it would not surprise me at all. I do not think we should rule out the possibility of, even though it is showing such a massive move to the upside, there is $5.5 billion of liquidity, very, very close, within $5,000 from where price currently is on Bitcoin. So I do think that we should be very careful. I would expect to see maybe a little bit of a push down, wipe this leverage, really, really just kind of start to hammer the market, and then we see that move back to the upside, clearing out all of these shorts. Now, again, we never know for sure what's going to happen, but I do think, this type of damaging sentiment that we have seen over the past 24 hours, I do think, kind of in a contrarian type of mindset, this does actually lend to the possibility that we see a further move to the upside because of all of the hammering that's gone on of the longs here. If we look at the 7-day, we'll see a very similar type of situation. Again, almost 10 billion here to the upside. But again, still very close, within $108,000. We're looking at $1 billion to be liquidated on the longs here. So I do think, kind of as I mentioned, even again here, 108,000, over $1 billion again. So obviously a major, kind of bias towards moving to the upside, but you just never know. So just be very, very careful. Like I said, I do think that we could potentially see another push down before we see kind of that run back to the upside, clearing out all of these shorts. I do think even if the bull market is over, I do think I mean, there's way too much liquidation and too much leverage here for the market to actually just go down from here, right? I think it's very clear to see that. I do think that we see another run back to all-time highs, really start to, freak people out, liquidate a whole bunch of shorts. If we see a move to the downside, it is going to be something that we see, kind of a little bit, there's going to be the same type of disbelief that we're seeing kind of running up this wall here. I think we're going to be seeing the same type of disbelief as we start to move down. So I do think it is a little premature to be calling the top of the market. But again, it's crypto. Who knows? I could be wrong. So it's very hard to say. So anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Again, hopefully, like I said, you are surviving. If not, of course, just take it as a learning lesson, albeit, an expensive learning lesson, but it happens to all of us. It's just part of the game when you're playing in crypto, unfortunately. So like I said, heart goes out to anyone who's feeling rather down from some of the recent events. But again, ideally, you can only lose if you give up. So just make sure that you are just learning what you can, take the lumps where you can, and ultimately just strive to come back better and learn the market, learn crypto, and just kind of make it happen for yourself. So again, ultimately, I'll wrap it up here. If you have any comments, of course, anyway, I'd love to hear them in the comment section below. If there's anything I can do to help in terms of giving consolation, or if you have any questions or anything about where we maybe go from here. I think I covered it fairly fully here on the video, but anything else that you might have, leave it in the comment section. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.